The huge meeting room on Nexus Prime was filled with strange sounds and smells. 12 different alien species sat in their special chairs, all looking at the 2 humans standing in the center. The room was built like a theater with the alien. Seats going up in circles around the middle where the humans waited. Admiral Jake Morrison stood straight and calm. His gray hair and lined face showed he had seen many battles. Next to him, Captain Lisa Rodriguez held a small computer tablet. Her dark eyes looked at each alien without fear, even though any one of them could destroy Earth with just a thought. The air felt heavy with tension. Everyone knew this meeting would change everything. A tall being made of crystal spoke first. This was Vexter, the High Commander of the Zephyrians. When he talked, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Human Morrison, your people, have been given a trial membership in our group, but we have learned things about your species that worry us. Jake Morrison nodded politely, but said nothing. He had been trained for this moment for months. Earth's leaders had prepared him for every possible question. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward a little. Honored beings, humans have always told the truth about what we can do. We have shared our machines, our culture, and what we want to do. In space, a giant bug-like creature clicked her sharp mouth parts together. This was Hive Queen Zoxth, and when she was angry, she made sounds like breaking glass. Your small ships were seen in 17 different star systems at the same time. Our scouts found huge buildings being made in deep space. You told us you live on only one world, but the proof says something else. The other aliens made various sounds of agreement. A reptile-like being with green scales nodded his long head. This was General Renth from the planet Dracos. His yellow eyes stared at the humans like a snake watching mice. Morrison looked at Rodriguez for just a second. It was a signal they had practiced. She touched her tablet, and suddenly the air above them filled with a map made of light. It showed the galaxy with all its billions of stars. We have been honest about where we come from, Morrison said in a clear, strong voice. Earth is where humans were born. What we have not talked about is how far humans have spread in the last 300 years. The room became very quiet. Even the strange humming sounds from the alien machines seemed to stop. General Renth leaned forward in his chair. His forked tongue flicked out to taste the air. Spread? Your papers say 8 billion humans live in one star system around one planet. Rodriguez pressed something on her tablet. Red dots began to appear on the star map. First, there were just a few dozen scattered around nearby star systems. Then there were hundreds. The aliens began to make worried sounds as more and more red dots appeared, but the dots kept coming. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. Soon, almost 1/3 of the entire galaxy map was covered in red lights. Hive Queen made a sound like a scream. This cannot be real. Vexter's crystal body started glowing brighter, which meant he was afraid or angry. The energy readings from our sensors do not match this display. We would have detected such a massive presence. Morrison smiled for the first time since entering the room. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that would scare you. You have been dealing with our diplomats and our colony ships, the ones we wanted you to. See, what you are looking at now is where humans really are in this galaxy. The red dots were still appearing. Some star systems showed not just one dot, but dozens of them stacked on top of each other. This meant multiple human settlements in the same area that Captain Rodriguez spoke into the stunned silence. Each red dot represents at least 1 million humans. The bigger dots represent 10 million or more. A small, furry alien near the back of the room fell out of his chair. 2 others started speaking rapidly in their own languages, probably calling their home worlds to warn them. Morrison walked slowly around the center of the room, making eye contact with each alien leader. For the past 60 years, you have been watching us. You have studied our culture, tested our technology, and decided we were a small, young species that might be useful to your council. He stopped walking and faced Vexter directly. But we have been watching you too. We have been inside your computer systems, listening to your communications and learning everything about each of your species. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, and your dreams. The crystal being's glow became almost blinding. Impossible. Our security systems are beyond your primitive technology. Rodriguez held up her tablet. On the screen were official documents written in the Zephyrian language. Secret documents that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. These are the reports from your spy network. The ones where you discuss which human cities to destroy first if we become a threat. Several aliens jumped up from their seats. General Rent's hand moved toward his weapon, but he stopped when Morrison looked at him. We also have the Hive Queen's genetic modification plans, Rodriguez continued calmly. The ones where you discuss changing human DNA to make us better workers. And General Renth, we have your military's battle plans for conquering Earth. The reptilian general sat back down heavily. His scales had turned from green to a sickly yellow color. Morrison's voice filled the room again. We know about the secret meetings where you discuss dividing human space between your empires. We know about the weapons you have pointed at Earth. We know about the spy ships hiding in our solar system. The Hive Queen's many eyes focused on the humans. If you knew all this, why did you come here? Why reveal yourselves to us? Because, Morrison said slowly, we wanted you to understand what you were really dealing with. You think humans are weak because we asked to join your council instead of demanding it. You think we are few because we showed you only our diplomats. You think we are primitive because our technology looks simple. He gestured to the star map, still glowing with thousands of red dots. But the truth is, you have seen only 1% of us. The room fell completely silent. The only sound was the quiet humming of the life support systems and the nervous breathing of 12 different species that Rodriguez added quietly. Every human colony, every space station, every ship you see on this map has been hidden from your sensors for decades. We have been living and growing right under your noses, and you never knew. A small alien with blue skin finally found his voice. How many of you are there? Morrison looked at each alien leader one by one before answering. More than you can imagine. And this is just one galaxy. The meeting room erupted in chaos as aliens began shouting in their own languages, calling their fleets and demanding answers. But through it all, Admiral Morrison and Captain Rodriguez stood calmly in the center, watching the panic they had caused. Finally, Vexter raised one crystal arm, and the room slowly became quiet again. What do you want from us? Morrison's answer was simple, but it changed everything. We want to talk. 3 days had passed since the meeting on Nexus Prime, and Captain Ben Walker was flying his small scout ship through the dark space between stars. Behind him, 6 alien warships followed in a tight formation. The Galactic Council had demanded proof of what the humans claimed, and surprisingly, Earth's government had agreed to show them. Walker looked at his control screen and smiled. The alien ships were easy to track because they had no idea how to hide properly. Their engines burned, bright like torches in the darkness, and their communication signals could be heard from light years away. Ben, they are going crazy back there, said Dr. Amy Carter from her seat behind him. She was listening to the alien radio chatter through her headphones. The Crystal people want us to turn around and go home. The Bug Queen is getting her weapons ready, and the Lizard General just put his ship on full battle alert. Lieutenant Danny Price sat at the navigation controls. He was young, and this was his first deep space mission. Captain, Are we really going to show them New Geneva Station? I thought that place was top secret. Walker adjusted their course toward what looked like completely empty space. There were no stars nearby, no planets, nothing but the cold vacuum between galaxies. Command wants them to see it, Danny. Time to stop playing games. Dr. Carter pulled off her headphones and turned. Face the captain. Ben, I have been studying these alien species for 2 years. They are not stupid. When they see what we have built out here, they are going to be terrified. Good, Walker replied. Maybe they will finally understand that humans are not the helpless little species they thought we were. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. They had reached the coordinates that Earth Command had given them. Walker looked out the window and saw nothing but empty space and distant stars. Computer, send the unlock signal, he ordered. Signal sent, Captain, the computer replied in its calm electronic voice. For a moment, nothing happened. The alien ships behind them slowed down, probably wondering why the humans had stopped in the middle of nowhere. Then space itself began to change. It started as a small ripple, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The ripple grew larger and larger until it covered an area bigger than Earth's moon. Inside the ripple, something huge began to appear. First came the outer shell, made of metal so advanced it seemed to bend light around itself. Then came the docking bays, hundreds of them, each one big enough to hold a battleship. Energy conduits ran across the surface like glowing veins, pulsing with power that could light up an entire planet. New Geneva Station materialized before them in all its massive glory. Lieutenant Price stared out the window with his mouth hanging open. Holy hell, how big is that thing? Dr. Carter checked her instruments. The station is 12 kilometers long and 8 kilometers wide. According to my readings, it is home to 12 million permanent residents, plus another 8 million people who work here temporarily. Behind them, the alien fleet had gone completely silent. No more radio chatter, no more weapons charging, no more engine noise. They were floating in space like dead ships, stunned by what they were seeing. New Geneva Station was not just big. It was beautiful. Gardens grew inside transparent domes along its surface. Waterfalls cascaded down the sides of buildings that reached toward the stars. Thousands of ships moved around it in perfect order, like a dance that had been practiced for years. Walker opened his communication system. New Geneva Station. This is Captain Walker with our alien guests. Permission to approach? A woman's voice came back immediately. Permission granted, Captain Walker. This is Commander Rachel Stone. Welcome to humanity's 347th Deep Space Installation. We have been expecting you. The number hit the alien ships like a bomb. 347 stations this size. Dr. Carter could hear them screaming at each other over their radios. Again, as they flew closer to the station, more details became visible. Massive factory ships were connected to the outer docks, building new vessels at an incredible rate. Mining ships came and went constantly, bringing raw materials from the asteroid fields hidden throughout the system. Defense platforms floated nearby, their weapons capable of destroying entire fleets. Captain, Lieutenant Price said quietly, there are more ships around this station than most species have in their entire navy. Walker nodded. And this is just one of our civilian facilities. Wait until they see our military bases. Commander Stone's voice came over the radio again. Alien vessels, welcome to New Geneva. This station serves as a manufacturing and residential hub for this sector of human space. We currently operate 1,200 facilities of this size or larger throughout the galaxy. The silence from the alien ships was deafening. General Rent's voice finally crackled through the communication system. It sounded weak and shaky, very different from his confident tone during the council meeting. How is this possible? Our long-range sensors detected nothing in this system. Nothing at all. Dr. Carter smiled as she answered. General, humans have been perfecting stealth technology for over 400 years. We learned early in our expansion. That survival sometimes depends on not being seen. A small maintenance ship flew past them, heading toward one of the docking bays. The pilot waved at their ship as he passed. It was such a normal, friendly gesture, but somehow it made the situation even more frightening for the aliens. This was not a military operation or a special demonstration. This was just daily life for humans. Dot Walker guided their ship toward a visitor's dock. Honored representatives, what you are seeing is one of our smaller civilian installations. Would you like to see our military capabilities now? The Hive Queen's ship immediately began backing away from the station. Her voice came over the radio, high-pitched with panic. No, we have seen enough. We need to return to our ships and report to our governments. But Vexter's crystal ship moved closer instead of retreating. Human Walker, your species has deceived the entire galaxy. For 60 years, we believed you were a young race with limited technology. How long have you been this advanced? Commander Stone answered from the station. Zephyrian Vexter, humans have been building stations like this one for over 2 centuries. We started hiding them when we encountered the Devourers in the Outer Rim territories. The Devourers? General Renth's voice was barely a whisper. The machine intelligence that consumed entire star systems? They were destroyed 50 years ago. No, Dr. Carter said firmly. They were not destroyed. We destroyed them. Humanity fought a war against the Devourers for 30 years. We won. But we learned an important lesson. The galaxy is full of dangerous things, and the best way to survive is to remain invisible until you are strong enough to fight. Walker brought their ship into the docking bay. Through the windows, they could see thousands of humans going about. Their daily business. Children played in parks built inside the station. Adults worked in offices and factories. Elderly people sat in cafes, drinking coffee and reading news from across the galaxy. It looked so normal, so peaceful. But the aliens knew they were looking at the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, one that had been hiding in plain sight for centuries. As their ship settled into the docking clamps, Walker made one final announcement to the alien fleet. Esteemed representatives, this concludes our tour of New Geneva Station. If you would like to see more of humanity's capabilities, we can arrange visits to our research facilities, our shipyards, or our defense installations. He paused, then added with a slight smile in his voice. Or perhaps you have seen enough. For one day, none of the alien ships answered. They hung in space around the massive station, their crews trying to understand that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just changed forever. Admiral Helen Brooks walked into the briefing room on New Geneva Station, where the alien delegation waited. The room was large and comfortable, with chairs designed for different body types. A huge window showed the stars outside, and in the center of the room, a holographic projector waited to tell humanity's story. The alien representatives sat quietly, still shocked from seeing the massive station. They had spent the last few hours walking through the facility, seeing millions of humans living normal lives in a place that should not exist, according to everything they knew about the galaxy. Admiral Brooks was an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, but when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had seen terrible things. You want to understand humanity? Then you need to understand our history. We did not start as explorers or conquerors. We started as survivors. She pressed a button, and the holographic display showed Earth as it was 3 centuries ago. The planet looked beautiful from space, blue and green and white, like a jewel floating in the darkness. This is our home world, Brooks said. 300 years ago, Earth was dying. Too many people, not enough food, polluted air and water. Our scientists said we had maybe 50 years before the planet could no longer support human life. The image changed to show massive ships being built in orbit around Earth. The ships were huge, bigger than most alien vessels, but they looked crude and basic compared to modern human technology. Commander Steve Phillips, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. The Great Exodus began in the year 2157. We did not leave Earth because we wanted to explore. We left because we had to. Stay and die, or leave and maybe live. Those were our only choices. The display showed hundreds of ships leaving Earth's orbit, each one carrying millions of people. They scattered in all directions, some heading for nearby star systems, others venturing into the unknown regions of the galaxy. Our early expansion was desperate and unplanned, Brooks continued. We sent ships everywhere, hoping some would find places where humans could survive. Many ships were lost. Many colonies failed, but some succeeded. Vexther, the crystal being, leaned forward in his chair. This explains your wide distribution across the galaxy, but it does not explain why you remained hidden from us. Brooks smiled sadly. That part of the story comes next. The holographic display changed again, showing what looked like a graveyard of ships floating in space. Broken hulls, burned metal, and the scattered remains of what had once been thriving human colonies. We were not alone in the galaxy, Brooks said quietly, and we learned that the universe was far more dangerous than we had ever imagined. The display zoomed in on one of the destroyed ships. Strange markings covered its hull, burned patterns that seemed to form geometric shapes. The metal looked like it had been eaten away by acid. The Devourers found us first, Commander Phillips said. A machine intelligence that consumed everything in its path. Planets, ships, entire star systems. They turned matter into energy, and energy into more machines. Dr. Karen Foster, the station's head of research, joined them at the display. She was a small woman with dark hair and serious eyes. The Devourers were not evil in the way we understand evil. They were just hungry. They needed resources to build more of themselves, and they did not care if those resources were rocks or trees or people. The display showed a timeline of human losses. 47 colonies destroyed in the first year of contact. Millions of people dead. Entire families wiped out before they could even send a distress signal. How did you survive? Asked General Renth, the lizard-like being. His yellow eyes were fixed on the images of destruction. We learned to hide, Brooks answered simply. The Devourers found us because our ships and colonies were easy to detect. They used energy signatures, radio signals, heat emissions. So we developed technology to eliminate all of those things. The display showed the next generation of human ships. They looked very different from the crude vessels that had left Earth. These ships seemed to bend light around themselves, making them nearly invisible against the stars. Stealth technology became our specialty, Doctor. Foster explained. Not just for ships, but for entire colonies. We learned to build cities that could not be seen from space, mines that left no trace, factories that produced no emissions. Commander Phillips brought up a new image showing a beautiful planet covered in forests and oceans. This is New Terra, one of our first major colonies. To your sensors, it would appear to be an uninhabited world. But 12 billion humans live on that planet. The Hive Queen made a clicking sound with her mandibles. 12 billion? That is more people than most of our species have in total. The irony, Brooks continued, is that while we were hiding from the Devourers, we were also avoiding you. We discovered the Galactic Council 60 years ago. We studied your species, learned your languages, watched your politics and wars. The display showed surveillance images of alien worlds, taken from ships that had remained completely undetected. Council meetings, military exercises, scientific experiments. all observed by human spies who had never been caught. We spent decades learning about each of your species, Doctor, Foster said. We know your histories, your cultures, your technologies. We know which of you are peaceful and which are aggressive. We know your military capabilities and your economic systems. Vexther's crystal body began to glow brighter. You have been spying on us for 60 years? We have been protecting ourselves, Brooks corrected. We learned from the Devourers that first contact can be deadly. We needed to understand what kind of beings you were before we revealed ourselves. General Renth shifted uncomfortably in his chair. And what did you decide about us? Brooks looked at each alien representative before answering. We decided that you were not the Devourers. You were not a machine intelligence bent on consuming everything. You were living beings with your own hopes and fears and dreams. But we also learned that you were not necessarily friendly. The display showed intercepted communications between the alien species, military plans, territorial disputes, discussions about what to do if humans became a threat. We heard your debates about whether to accept humanity into the Council, Commander Phillips said. We heard your plans to divide human space between your empires if we became too strong. We heard your discussions about using us as a slave race. The aliens in the room looked embarrassed, but none of them denied the accusations. So why reveal yourselves now? Asked the Hive Queen. If you knew we might be dangerous, why not stay hidden? Admiral Brooks walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Because hiding forever is not living. And because we finally became strong enough that we did not need to fear you anymore. She turned back to face the aliens. 300 years ago, we were refugees fleeing a dying world. Today, we are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. We have weapons that could destroy your home worlds, technology that makes your best science look primitive, and the industrial capacity to build fleets larger than all your navies combined. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. But Brooks continued, we are not the Devourers either. We do not want to conquer or consume. We want to survive and grow and explore. We revealed ourselves because we hoped you would choose cooperation over conflict. Dr. Foster activated one final image. It showed the galaxy as it was today, with human settlements marked in red and alien territories marked in different colors. The two patterns overlapped peacefully in many places. We have been your neighbors for 60 years, she said. We have shared the same space, used the same resources, even rescued some of your ships when they were in trouble. We just did it quietly. General Renth looked at the star map for a long time before speaking. How many of you are there? Brooks met his gaze steadily. 600 billion humans across 2,000 star systems, and growing every day. The silence that followed was filled with the sound of 12 different species, trying to comprehend a universe that had suddenly become much larger and more complex than they had ever imagined. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of his warship, the UES Intrepid, as it moved through space toward humanity's most secret location. Behind his ship, 6 alien vessels followed nervously. For the first time in decades, the Intrepid was flying with all its hiding systems turned off, showing its true size and power to the shocked aliens. The human warship was massive, 3 times larger than the biggest alien battleship. Its hull was covered with weapons that the aliens had never seen before, and energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible for a ship that size. Contact Admiral Morrison. Mitchell ordered his communications officer, Lieutenant Grace Adams. Tell him we are getting close to the sanctuary system. The alien fleet's confusion was easy to hear over their radio channels. They were entering what appeared to be completely empty space. No planets, no space stations, no signs of any life at all. Several alien captains were wondering if the humans had made a mistake. Commander Eric Coleman, Mitchell's second in command, looked at the tactical display and grinned. "Sir, should we drop all the hiding fields?" "All of them," Mitchell confirmed. "Let them see what we really have." Space exploded into activity around them. Hundreds of ships suddenly appeared out of nowhere, materializing like ghosts becoming solid. Small patrol boats, medium cruisers, and massive dreadnoughts that made the alien vessels look like toys. The largest human warships were so big they had their own gravity fields, with smaller ships orbiting around them like planets around a star. But the ships were just the beginning. Space stations began appearing throughout the system, connected by streams of traffic and energy beams that lit up the darkness. Manufacturing platforms the size of small moons churned out new vessels at an incredible rate. Defense platforms with weapons that could crack planets hung in perfect formations, ready to destroy any threat, and in the center of it all was Sanctuary. Itself, the artificial world, was impossible to describe in simple words. It was not quite a planet, but it was bigger than most moons. The surface was covered with cities that stretched from one horizon to the other, connected by transportation tubes that moved people and cargo at the speed of sound. Massive towers reached up toward space, each one a city in itself with millions of inhabitants. Dr. Patricia Lewis, the human liaison to the alien delegation, opened communications with the alien ships. Her voice was calm and professional, as if revealing the most advanced military installation in the galaxy was just another day at work. "Honored guests, welcome to Sanctuary, the heart of human military operations. This facility houses 50 million military personnel and represents our most advanced technology." The alien ships had gone completely silent. No radio chatter, no engine noise, nothing. They floated in space like dead objects, their crews too stunned to speak. The Hive Queen was the first to find her voice. "This is impossible," she said, her words shaking. "The energy requirements alone would need the power output of an entire star system." Admiral Susan Clark's flagship, the USS Defiance, approached the alien fleet. The Defiance was so large that it cast shadows on the smaller alien vessels as it passed. "You are correct, Hive Queen Zact H. Sanctuary draws power from a controlled black hole. We have learned to harness the energy of collapsed stars." The words hit the alien delegation like physical blows. Controlled black holes were theoretical science to most species. The idea that humans were actually using them as power sources was beyond their understanding. Vexther's crystal form seemed to dim with shock. "Your species has achieved technological advancement far beyond our projections. Why maintain the deception for so long?" Admiral Clark's voice carried across all communication channels. "Because the last species that revealed their true capabilities to the galaxy was the Devourers. And look what happened to them." The implication was clear. The Devourers had been powerful enough to consume star systems, but they had been destroyed anyway. By humans. Commander Julia Barnes spoke from Sanctuary's main command center. The command center was a transparent dome on the artificial world's surface, visible to the alien ships overhead. Inside, thousands of human officers worked at stations that controlled the defense of entire sectors of the galaxy. "Esteemed representatives," Barnes said, "what you are seeing represents our defensive capabilities. Our main battle fleets are currently stationed in the Andromeda Galaxy, working to establish human presence there. Would you like us to recall them for inspection?" General Renth made a choking sound. "Andromeda? You mean the galaxy next to this one?" "Correct," Admiral Clark confirmed. "We have been expanding into Andromeda for the past 50 years. The local species there have been much more welcoming than we expected you to be." Captain Mitchell guided the Intrepid closer to one of the massive defense platforms. The platform was shaped like a flower, with 6 arms extending from a central hub. Each arm was longer than most alien battleships and was covered with weapons that seemed to bend space. Around them, "These are our standard system defense platforms," Mitchell explained to the speechless aliens. "Each one can destroy an entire invasion fleet by itself. Sanctuary has 800 of them." Lieutenant Adams monitored the alien communications and shook her head. "Captain, they are not even trying to talk to each other anymore. I think we broke them." Through the observation windows, the aliens could see human children playing in parks built inside the space stations. Families walked along transparent walkways that stretched between the platforms, enjoying views of the artificial world below. It was so normal, so peaceful, that it made the overwhelming military power even more frightening. "Commander," Coleman pointed to a section of space where new ships were being built. "Sir, should we show them the construction yards?" "Why not?" Mitchell replied. The view screens focused on what looked like an empty area of space. Then the hiding fields dropped, revealing ship construction facilities that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Massive frameworks held partially built vessels, some larger than anything the aliens had ever imagined. Robotic workers moved like metal insects, welding and assembling at a pace that would have taken alien shipyards decades to match. "We complete one major warship every 6 hours," Commander Barnes announced from the command center. "Smaller vessels are finished every few minutes. At current production rates, we could replace our entire military fleet in less than 2 years if necessary." The numbers were staggering. The alien species typically took years to build a single major warship. The idea of completing one every 6 hours was beyond their comprehension. Dr. Lewis brought up technical specifications on her communication screen. "Our newest vessels use technology that is approximately 3 centuries ahead of current galactic standards. They can travel faster, hit harder, and survive longer than anything else in known space." Admiral Clark added the final piece of information that would haunt the aliens' dreams for years to come. "Sanctuary is not our only facility of this type. We operate 17 similar installations throughout this galaxy, and another 34 in Andromeda. Each one is capable of independent military operations." The silence from the alien ships was so complete that the humans began to wonder if they had accidentally damaged their communication systems. Finally, Vexter spoke again. His voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want from us?" Captain Mitchell answered for all of humanity. "The same thing we have always wanted: peace, trade, and the freedom to exist without fear. The only difference is that now you understand the consequences of threatening us." He paused, then added with a slight smile, "We hope that makes the conversation easier." As the alien delegation tried to process what they had seen, human life continued around them. Children laughed in schools built inside warships. Scientists worked in laboratories that could unlock the secrets of the universe. Artists created beauty in galleries that floated among the stars. Humanity had shown its true power, but it had also shown its true nature. They were not conquerors or destroyers. They were builders and dreamers who just happened to be very, very good at protecting what they had built. 6 months had passed since the shocking revelations at Sanctuary, and the great council chamber on Nexus Prime looked very different now. The circular room had been redesigned to reflect the new reality of galactic politics. Where once the alien species had sat in elevated seats looking down at human representatives, now everyone sat at the same level around a large round table. Admiral Morrison sat at one end of the table, no longer standing as a visitor begging for acceptance. He wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's Galactic Command, with stars on his shoulders that marked him as an equal among the galaxy's most powerful leaders. To his right sat President Nancy Wheeler, humanity's newly appointed representative to the Council. To his left, General Chris Taylor commanded the combined human fleets that now protected the entire galaxy. The other species looked very different from their first meeting. Gone was the arrogance and superiority they had shown before. The crystal, being Vexter, no longer glowed with confident energy. The Hive Queen's mandibles stayed closed instead of clicking with aggression. General Renth's scales had lost their bright green color and looked dull and gray. President Wheeler stood to address the assembly. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but everyone in the room knew she represented the most powerful military force in known space. Honored colleagues, we gather today to establish new rules for how our species will work together. Humanity's full membership in the Council requires us to change how we do many things. The room was quiet, except for the soft humming of the translation. Machines that converted human speech into the various alien languages. Vexter spoke first, his crystal voice much softer than before. President Wheeler, your species has completely changed the balance of power in our galaxy. We must ask, how do we move forward from this point? Admiral Morrison leaned forward slightly. The same way we always wanted to move forward. Through partnership and cooperation. We have spent centuries learning to work together as humans. Now we want to learn to work together with all of you. General Taylor activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Human fleets were positioned throughout space, but they were not in attacking formations. Instead, they formed protective barriers around the home systems. Of all Council member species, human military forces are already moving to establish protective zones around your worlds, Taylor explained. The Devourer threat in the Outer Rim territories will be eliminated within 2 years. Your shipping lanes will be protected from pirates. Your colonies will be safe from invasion. The aliens looked at the display with mixed emotions. Relief that they would be protected, but also fear of being dependent on human power. Dr. Patricia Lewis, now serving as humanity's chief science coordinator, presented the next phase of cooperation. We are prepared to share specific technologies with Council members, medical advances that can extend your lifespans, energy production systems that will end resource shortages, and defensive technologies to protect your worlds. The Hive Queen leaned forward, her many eyes focusing on the human representatives. And what do you want in return for all this protection and technology? President Wheeler smiled warmly. The same things we have always wanted. Open trade between our species. Cultural exchange programs so we can learn from each other. Scientific cooperation to explore the mysteries of the universe. Peaceful coexistence. General Renth, who had been silent throughout the meeting, finally spoke. You could have conquered all of us easily. Your fleets could have destroyed our homeworlds before we even knew you existed. Why choose this path instead? Admiral Lisa Rodriguez, who had been promoted after the first contact revelations, answered from her position as humanity's military liaison. Because conquest creates enemies, but partnership creates friends. We learned this lesson from our own history. When humans fought each other on Earth, we almost destroyed our planet. When we learned to work together, we reached the stars. She gestured to the star map still floating above the table. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders we have not yet discovered. There are other galaxies beyond this one with their own mysteries and dangers. We believe all of our species will be stronger if we face these challenges together. President Wheeler activated a new section of the display, showing exploration ships moving toward the edge of known space. Human deep space scouts have detected signs of another machine intelligence in the void between galaxies, something even more advanced than the Devourers. We may need to combine our knowledge and resources to face this new threat. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Even with all of humanity's power, they were acknowledging that greater dangers existed. Admiral Morrison stood and walked to the great window that showed the stars beyond Nexus Prime. 6 months ago, we told you that you had seen only 1% of humanity. That statement was not meant as a threat. It was an invitation. He turned back to face the assembled representatives. We wanted you to understand that we are not a small, weak species looking for protection. We are your equals, capable of defending ourselves and our allies. But we also wanted you to know that we choose cooperation over domination. General Taylor brought up new images showing joint human-alien research stations already under construction. In the past 6 months, we have begun 12 collaborative projects with council member species. Zephyrian crystal technology combined with human energy systems. Hive Queen biological advances merged with human medical knowledge. Draco's military tactics integrated with human strategic planning. Dr. Lewis added, these partnerships have already produced breakthroughs that none of our species could have achieved alone. A cure for the genetic plague that has affected the hive colonies for centuries. New defensive shields that can protect entire planets. Faster-than-light communication systems that work across galactic distances. President Wheeler called for the formal vote that would reshape galactic governance. The proposal before us today is simple. Restructure the Galactic Council to reflect the new reality of our galaxy. Equal representation for all species. Shared defense responsibilities. Open exchange of knowledge and technology. Peaceful resolution of conflicts. The vote was taken electronically, with each species entering their decision privately. The results appeared on the main display for everyone to see. Unanimous approval. As the session officially ended, the representatives began talking among themselves for the first time since the revelations began. The fear and suspicion that had filled the room for months was slowly being replaced by cautious optimism. Vexter approached Admiral Morrison as the others filed out. Human Morrison, I must ask you something that has troubled me since our first meeting. You could have revealed your true capabilities gradually, allowing us to adjust slowly to the new reality. Why shock us with the full truth all at once? Morrison smiled and looked out at the stars again. Because gradual revelations lead to gradual mistrust. We wanted you to see everything at once so you could make an informed decision about whether to work with us or against us. We gambled that when you saw our full power, you would also see our restraint in not using it against you. The crystal being's form brightened slightly for the first time in months. It was a wise gamble. As Morrison prepared to leave, he made one final statement that would be remembered for generations. President Wheeler spoke of the challenges ahead. The truth is, we have explored less than 10% of this galaxy, and there are billions of other galaxies beyond our reach. The universe is full of wonders and dangers we cannot even imagine. He paused at the door and looked back at the alien representatives. Humanity has learned that survival requires more than just strength. It requires friends, allies, and partners who will stand together when the unknown comes calling. Today, we have taken the first step toward building that kind of galaxy. The age of human guardianship had officially begun, but more importantly, the age of true galactic cooperation had started as well.